Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miel Hebraica. I'm looking at Ruth 1, 18, 19, and 20. We're to the part where the whole dialogue between Ruth and Naomi has taken place, and now they're heading on out from the border of Moab up to Bethlehem, and then the last part of this particular section ends with them arriving in Bethlehem and all the impact that had. So I'm doing this study, first of all, in English, and then halfway through, we're going to pick up some of the important points as they come up out of the Hebrew, and then the last part is Hebrew. So if you're just interested in Ruth, fine with English. Then moving on a little bit to Hebrew. If you want the heavy-duty Hebrew, well, yeah, good Hebrew at the end, then stick with it through to the end. So, but we'll start out with just the English language, so that's for those who have difficulty with Hebrew. Can look at that a little bit later down the line. So we're starting with English. Here we go. Ruth 1:18, and when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, that is, that she would be, Ruth would go with her, she put the lid on speaking to her. This is a very literal way of saying what's there in the passage or in the Hebrew. It's just simply stopped speaking to her or desisted from continuing to speak. So she put the lid on speaking to her. And so the two of them, and this will be the last time we see the use of a masculine pronoun, which should have been feminine, but so be it. Okay, so the two of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. And when they came to Bethlehem, now I'll have two different versions of the pronunciation of this. It's the same word. Okay, Bethlehem, Bethlehem. In English, we tend to just pronounce our nouns or any of our words very. If you pronounce them this way, this is how we're going to pronounce them. But in Hebrew, there's a variation of pronunciation based on where it is and how it's used, and also somewhat of the accenting and the vowels that are placed on that word. So, and this is one case where it is pretty clear. So I'm using it as a teaching moment to just teach what's known as the pause form of a Hebrew word. So this is the paused form. This is the full-out normal form. If we're going to learn vocabulary, learn it from the normal forms, because not all of them. We're not going to remember the paused forms. We're going to remember the normal forms. So let's just learn the normal forms. And then they came to Bethlehem. The whole town was stirred. Very interesting word behind it, tehom. Very interesting word. Same thing as the whirlpool we find in Genesis 1 verse 2. Okay, and the darkness was over the depths. Okay, or the tehom, the stirring whirlpool underneath. So this is the verbal form of that. In dictionaries, you won't find those two tied together, but they are definitely. This is then the verbal form of that particular word here. The whole town was stirred. The whole town was in a big old whirlpool of what was happening or when they saw them, because of them. And the women said, "Is this Naomi? Can this be Naomi?" You know, the kind of questioning. Oh, she looks like Naomi, talks like Naomi. Well, what happened? Okay, so it's kind of like, so you can just imagine this is a lot of stirring. Now, it's interesting in the literary structure of our book. We find these women at the start, questioning, oh, what's happening? We don't know what's happening, all that kind of stuff. We'll find these again at the end of the story, more than about halfway through the 4th chapter, and there the women are saying, oh wow, the Lord's been good to Naomi. Naomi now has a reference to Naomi. Naomi now has a child. In other words, the child that was born to Ruth. They say, oh, this child actually belongs to Naomi. So you'll find again, the author makes use of all the people that are gathered around, all the people that have a public opinion. It's sort of like the public opinion here. Okay? Now the women said, "Is this Naomi?" And she said to them, and now she's explaining what's happening. Do not call me Naomi, and the reason for not calling her Naomi is that Naomi means pleasant or sweet, or caring. Naomi Don't call me that. I mean, I'm not sweet. I'm not pleasant. I'm burned out. Call me Mara. Call me bitter. Call me something that really stings. Mara. Call me Mara. For the Almighty, this is Shaddai. Okay? And she uses only half of what would be the full title. The full title of the Lord here would be El Shaddai. She uses just half of it. In other words, she takes one of God's most important titles and chops it in half, uses just the second half, and with the idea, he's not been good to me, and I'm going to just use half of his name for this. And so the Almighty Shaddai has been dealt very bitterly with me. Hey, and we're going to see the Hebrew here. Stick around for the Hebrew, and we'll explain a little bit with how that works. So El Shad Hera has dealt has actually literally has hit me very hard, and Ra, okay, Hera with me. So it's a very interesting passage. It very very much displays the emotion, the very burned out feeling that Naomi had when she got back to Bethlehem, or all along the way from Moab, with the passing of her two sons. She went into an emotional, downhill emotional slide, and it's showing all over the place here. Very, I'd say, very moving story, because when things go against us, we understand them emotionally. We understand them based on our feelings, and our feelings are hurt, and we feel put down, and we feel crushed, and we feel walked over, and all these things. And so that was her state of mind, and that was her state of emotions as things apparently did. It, progressively got worse on the way back to Bethlehem. She knew she would have to be facing her own people. She knew that they'd be asking all kinds of difficult questions. Is this Naomi? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Kind of thing. And she realized that it was just going to be a very hard time for her. And she did what's often quite naturally, just blame the Lord on all the difficult things that have happened. Now, the rest of the story, this verse and the next two verses sort of point to the low point of her feelings. From here on in, the story shifts to recovery. Here it's wow, here's the problem. Here's what's happened. This is we've hit the bottom emotionally and family-wise and all kinds of things. And so from here on, the story turns around and begins recovery, begins building, begins putting things back together, redemption, and rescuing, and reestablishing a good relationship with the Lord, and so forth. So it's a very, very moving story, and we come alongside Naomi when all of this is happening. It's kind of interesting to wonder, what Ruth is thinking about this whole thing, because the focus of the people is entirely on Naomi. Naomi's the one that counts here. Naomi's the one that suffered. Naomi's the one that's crying about things, and Ruth kind of stands to one side as a spectator in all of this. Of course, everybody does take notice of her. Wow, she's a Moabite. She's a foreigner. Can we trust her? And so forth and so forth. But we don't hear we'll hear what is said about her later on into the second chapter when Boaz reports on what he's heard about everything. So yes, most certainly, Ruth also became part of the gossip mill, or you want to call it that, of the city, and that there were good things reported about her, of course. So, which means Naomi probably reported that. So, okay, this is what's happened. That's what happened. And now Ruth has been very, very faithful with me. And so that gets reported then to the city, and eventually also gets reported back to Boaz. So, yeah, it's very interesting human dynamic here. The story is very personable, very, very close, very expressive as to emotions and so forth. So it makes a very nice narrative here. as to what's happened with Naomi and her feelings in terms of the Lord. And we're going to cover a few of the key. She was determined. This is in getting on to a little bit more of the complicated Hebrew grammar structure here. This is ki mit amaset. This is an ametz verb, the root. If you're going to look up the root, this would be aleph mem sade. Okay, aleph mem ametz. This is a root that's based on, it's the same grouping of words around amen. Okay? Amen is to, if so may it be, and so it should be firm. This is true. This has to be firm. This is firm. This is strong. So ametz, feminine ending with the tau right here, and so we got ametz, amaset, and then mit. This is a hitpael. Hitpael is a causative, and it's a participle form of that, and it's also causative reflexive. Okay, so she was determined in and of herself, inside of herself. She was saying amen to herself inside numerous times. Okay, amet set, okay? Mit amaset. That or this was because she was mit amaset. She was very determined. Okay, very determined from her insides. So, and this is something that Naomi saw in her, ki mit amet set. Okay. It's a segolate. It's got two segols right here, so the accent did push up to this syllable right here. So mit amet set. And she stopped. Hadal. Dal is doorway or the flap of the tent. Okay, dal, and this, we're getting right back way to the Proto-Semitic meaning of the dal right here, and dalet right here, and here we do have dal. And it's when the tent flaps begins flapping around, when it gets really thin, even the very thin cows that come out of the water in Pharaoh's vision when he sees the sickly cows coming up out of the river. That's a vision that he had with that Joseph had to interpret. They were dal. They were all just as flat as all could be. We're not going to see this as a verb from here on. We will see it on another occasion of dal in reference to the poor guys. So when you're in poverty, you're also very, very slim. You're also very much the thickness of a tent flap. So tehadal. So she stopped, or she put the tent flap over it. Stopped talking. Okay. So very, very expressive way of saying it. Okay. Well. Okay. The story can get very expressive here and there, and it's not kind of interesting to see it do that. So tehadal. In story of Babel, when the Lord messes up their ability to talk to each other, they also go hadal. In other words, they stopped. They kind of gave up what they were doing, and they also put the lid on it. Okay, so she put the lid on it. That's yeah, it is a very interesting way of translating, because it does sort of derive from what we see in the root meaning of this particular verb. And then it was stirred. Okay, Bethlehem, ha'ir, and then the city here was stirred. Okay, feminine prefix form hom. Tehom. Tehom in Genesis 1 verse 2, the abyss. That's a noun over there. Over here it's a verb. Very much the same root though. It's a very expressive. In other words, the two of them show up in Bethlehem, and the whole thing is kind of spinning around like a whirlpool. So the whole city was stirred over their return. It made quite an impact. I mean, quite a little town, quite a little, almost you'd call it a village more than anything else, but a small town. And everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other's business. Everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and so forth. And all of a sudden, wow, here's somebody I haven't seen for 10 years, and she's suddenly back. And now what's going on? Everybody wanted to know the news. And so, yeah, they had a terrific time of talking with each other about what had happened. And then the public, okay, public opinion here had to ask, hazot Naomi, so there's a demonstrative pronoun. Is this, this, and then hey, an interrogative hey with a hatef, hata, and then that makes it a question, okay? Is this, okay? Is this, and then Naomi. Is this one Naomi? Is that really her? She looks a lot older. She looks a lot more strung out. She looks a lot sadder than she did when she left. Is that can't really be her? Okay, so yeah, lots of questions, a lot of head scratching and stuff going on here as to what really happened to her. I can't believe she's back. You got to know that there was really no communications in those days, and when she went for 10 years, nobody knew anything about her during the time she was off to Moab. In this day and age, we have all kinds of electronic communications, so there would probably be some contact maintained, but no, back in those days, she basically had walked off the edge of the earth. So when she came back, oh wow, big surprise. So Hazot Noemi. And then I have Bethlehem. Now Bethlehem, I've put these two in here, just sort of teaching moment, let's say. Okay. And over here we have Adna. Okay, Adna is the accenting that divides a verse. Okay, the logical division of the verse, not exactly halfway, maybe might be towards the end, might be toward the front, but the logical division of the verse. And often when it gets translated to English or any other language, this will generate either a period or a colon or semicolon or something. In other words, it will be the end of some expression, some clause or something. Okay, so Beit Lachem. Okay, and it makes this particular word go into what's known as the pause form of the word. Okay, pause. It pauses. You stop. Boom. Okay, hold on. When you hold on, it bumps it up. Incidentally, siluk at the end of the verses will do the same sort of thing. So every time you see a siluk, it's going to do something to the word the same way that Atna does to it. Okay, and some of the more, what I call the more disjunctive accenting, have capacity of pushing a word into pausal form. So this is what's happening here. Okay, bet lachem. The transliteration is Bethlehem. This is an A then, right over here. There's the comments that will comes up as an A over here. This is the normal form, and this is the way you normally see it. Okay, if you didn't do this kind of accenting, this is what it would be here. Bethlehem, Bethlehem. Okay, Bethlehem. The normal E right here. E. Okay, Bethlehem. Oh, 3 E's. This one, that one, that one. You have 3 E's here as well. Okay, so nice set of vowels. They're all the right vowels. Okay, here, nice set of vowels, but this one is just a little bit different. So, and it's all based on putting the rhythm into the way the passage is read. In other words, it does impact the pronunciation of that particular word, but it also makes you stop here before you head on to the next portion of the reading. So that's what the purpose of this atna is here. So Bethlehem, Kerena li mara. Okay, call to you. So this is a feminine suffix then of to call or name. Okay, call me or name me. To me, mara. Mara is bitterness. Okay, mara. And if you get into the story of the Exodus and the story of Elisha, you'll hear about this one quite a bit. The waters are bitter. Okay, why? Because the people were in rebellion. Okay, so bitterness and rebellion kind of go together. So Mara. Okay, Mara. Call me Mara. Ki hemar. Now, this here is the noun, and this one here is the verbal form of that particular. We got, okay, mara, mem resh aleph, Memresh. Now you've lost the aleph here. It's gone. Doesn't matter. But the base root is Memresh. Okay, Memresh. Mar. You have a hey on the front. This is a causal hey. It's a hifid. Okay, and because he has caused. Okay, now Shaddai here. Shaddai has caused bitterness. Shaddai Hamar, Shaddai Li, to me. I left off the Li at the end here, but Ki Hemar, because he has been very bitter, or he has caused bitterness, and then Shaddai is the one that has done this. Okay, Shaddai has been very bitter with me. He has dealt very bitterly with me. Okay, so Ki Hemar Shaddai. Okay? And we'll read the portion now of Ruth here. Vetare, and then she saw. This one's going to be to see, and the root will be resh aleph hey. Okay, the hey is gone with pokape, and then so vetare ki mit amatzet. Ametz is to be firm, to be decided, to be strong, to be it's as part of the grouping of the amen words. She was very much amen with herself. Reflexive, because submit. Okay, she was very determined in and of herself. Feminine ending here with the tau, so it's participle. Hitpael causative. So and as far as what I would call complicated, there's an other one, a step up above this one, but in terms of how Hebrew agglutinates things, this is one of the more extensive agglutinations you're going to see in Hebrew. So mit amaset, okay, and she was very determined with herself. He, and that's her. Okay, here it is, the normal Hirik Yod. If you'd be back in the Torah part of the scriptures, back in Genesis, Exodus, and so forth, this would be a vav, and so it would be a perpetual kare of saying she. Okay, he. But here we have the normal form of the independent pronoun. Okay, he and she. La laket, and then she was determined. And then the lamed here of purpose. Laket is then the infinitive form, construct infinitive form of halach. Okay, so halach. Lalaket was insisted on walking. Okay, halach. Lalaket, her walking, to walk. Itach, with her. Okay, so this is the preposition with, and then this is her. This is a suffix, the feminine pronoun, and the Masher reminds us what it's doing here via the mapik here. So itach va tech hedal, and this is a feminine prefix form of this particular verb, okay, with the tau, and then dal here, like I said, is a tent flap, and then so she stopped. In other words, she kind of ran out of energy, or she put. And I just based on the fact that the tent flap is mentioned here, I had a little bit too expressive translation here of, and then she put the lid on it. Okay, she threw a tent flap over the whole thing. Okay, techadal. Okay, she became she wore out. Used that in Genesis, the story of Babel, they ran out of energy to do things and so forth. So it's when things, I think it's also mentioned in Joshua, when people stopped traveling on the roads, then the roads weren't used anymore. So tehadal. Lidavar, to speak. Okay, this is also you have a lamed of purpose onto a verb here. To speak, okay, eleha, towards her. Okay? You have here hemapik as a pronoun. Same thing here, but don't bother with mapik. Just use the comments here. Eleha, towards her. This is with her. This is towards her. Telekana, and then they walked. Shtehem. This unfortunately, and we've seen, I'd say like 7 or 8 times already, that the author is using a masculine form when it should have been a feminine form, but it's still there. Shtehem, and the two of them, ad bona, until they came. But if you look it up in the dictionary, this is going to be bet, vav, aleph, but here this is a third person plural form of the verb ba, to come, and then they came. Beit lachem, okay, Beit lachem, comets with the adna, and so the pronunciation is going to be Beit lachem, Bet lachem. It makes it a little closer to the Arabic sense, or the Arabic use of this particular in Arabic. Beit lachem is house of meat, and so the positive form in Hebrew is close to the Arabic form of this word here. So just I don't know if that's purpose on purpose or what, but anyway, Bethlehem, the house of the real pronunciation, or the one that we're very used to, Bethlehem, is house of bread. The ones the Arabics would use is Bethlehem, a house of meat. So yeah, this one here, lechem, expresses food, house of food. And this one here, same thing, meat would express food as well. So in the end, the two of them do end up meaning the same thing. Okay, Bethlehem, Vehi, and it was, and so happened, and it came to pass. Okay, this is Yehi. This is you're having a hey that's missing at the end of this particular construction. If you looked it up in the dictionary, it would be Haya, but it's Yehi, and then it so happened. Okay, bona, as they came. Okay, so it's here you have these are the same words here. Okay, bona, bona. This is until they came, and then when they came. And so this one here has the kaf that's prefixed onto the same root verb as you have here. Bethlehem, Bethlehem, and the whole city was stirred, went into a big whirlpool. Okay, Tahom, round, all kinds of talking, all kinds of running from place to place, and talking about what had happened. Okay, Tahom, kol, the whole, Kamasatuf, closed syllable, no accent, so it's going to be Kamasatuf with an O. Kol ha'ir, the whole city. City, of course, is a feminine gender here of this particular noun, and that means that explains why this particular verb has a feminine beginning to it here. Okay, prefix feminine beginning here. Tehom, ha'ir, the city. Alehen. Now, if you take a good look here, Tehen, that's what should have been here. We do see it here. Okay, fine. Over them, and here we do finally see a lovely feminine ending on over them. Okay, on this particular suffixed pronoun, we see a good feminine ending here. Alehen. Well, tomarna, and then they said, we've seen telakna, bona, tomarna. These are all feminine plural endings. Okay, every one of them right here. This one, that one, this one. Tomarna, and then they all said, hazot. Okay, is this Naomi? Is this one Naomi? And here we have a suluk. Suluk did not affect the pronunciation of me here. Good thing. I don't know what it would have pushed it to, but Naomi. And is this Naomi? Can this be? Can't be. Okay. And so, yeah, all kinds of questionings as to what had happened. And then Naomi speaks to them, okay, and we do see a very cling towards them. Tomer, as she said, a nice milel accenting here, okay, Tomer. Alechen, to them, the females, okay, it's the females are doing all the talking here. I'm not trying to be, define what each society does, but apparently here it is. And he said to them, the females, to them, female ending here of this particular pronoun. So he said to them, al, and so prohibitive negation. Okay, don't do this. Okay, al, tekrana, don't call to me, na. So again, and this then, with this na, it's more of a hortatory na than it is just feminine plural now, than feminine plural ending here. Krana, don't call to me. Okay, and we'll get the hortatory sense of it because of the negation here. Okay, Al tekrana. Okay, don't call to me, Naomi. Okay, Naomi. Krana, call to me. Okay, now this nun he na and this nun kamets are the same thing, and they actually have the same function. Okay, so don't call me, and this one's call me. Okay, to me, krana. Actually, same with negated imperatives. You're going to use the prefix form. If it's not a negated or not a negated imperative, you just simply use the straight out root for the imperative. So that's what you have here. This tau prefix form is there because of the negation. This one is a straight out just call me, and then there's really no need of a prefix here anymore. So krana, call me, to me. Mara, okay, call me bitter, okay, bitter, mara. Ki hemer, because with bitterness, causative. This is here, then a hifel, causative form, and shad is the author or the subject of this particular action here, this verb right here, because shad has been bitter, has been, tough, bitter, to me, okay, ki hemer, shadai, li, to me. So we got li all over the place here, li, li, li. This one's don't call to me, this one's call me, and this one's the Lord has been bitter to me. Okay, so meod, very much so. Okay, and this particular, it is a adverb which defines the strength of this particular verb right here. So been very, very bitter, has been very nasty to me. Hemer. Okay, causal form of the hey, and then Shaddai is then. And as I said on the introduction, the normal way of talking about this particular name of God would be El Shaddai. We see it in many other places in the Bible. El Shaddai, El Shaddai. Here, Ruth or Naomi took Shaddai down a notch by just expressing half of the name. Half of it. She wasn't willing to call him God here. It is a sense it is a way to chop it down. Okay, so she used half of this the Lord's name here, and then El Shaddai, but it should just said Shaddai, and we see it again in the next verse, and then which explains her state of mind. Shaddai is the side of the Lord that's strong, powerful, and in fact, when the Greeks were translating Shaddai, they would do Pantokrator. Okay, Pantokrator is all powerful, almighty. So the translations that we use, almighty, when we see that in English, that's very much derived from what the Septuagint or what the Greek people did with this particular word. In the rest of the Hebrew, this is the word that's used for fishermen or hunters. Okay, so when you get incidentally, it's got a connection with the New Testament. Bethsaida, okay, Bethsaida, the house of the fisherman, the house of the hunter, okay, the one who's hunting fish. So the one who's out in the woods chasing animals. So you're going to have a rustic, tough name for the Lord. This is it. Okay, Shaddai. Okay, Shaddai li meod. Okay, the hunter-fisher Lord has been tough with me. So she's very much bitter, very much angry, and we see it in the way it's expressed and the way it comes out in the words that are used here to express that bitterness and that anger. The next verse and the following verse is a closing verse of the first chapter, sort of the emotional abyss of Naomi, and then from here on, very fortunately, very beautifully, the story begins with a path of redemption, a path of correction, path of moving up into God's favor, and so that makes this story actually one of the most beautiful stories of the Bible. So may God bless, and may God also at this time, if you're feeling in an emotional low, an emotional wrung out, come to the Lord, look to Him, and He will restore. He places your feet on a firm place, and He will bring you back to His favor. So may God bless, may God strengthen you in this day, and may God restore his favor upon you. Until the next time.